Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Dear viewers of Mouridiyyah, here we come today again to talk about another Hasidah, Anta Rabbi, for the Mathrabu Safi Minal Manba'i Shafi'i, the pure fountain emanating from the healing source. Anta Rabbi is a 27-verse poem written by Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba in the Tafif mirror, like Innani Ustu, like 𝒂𝒂𝒃𝒖'𝒄. The poem has no title of its own. The inspi represents the title, but it is a 27 verse with 9 verse, each ending with one rhyme, and it is from Allahu Muhammad. The Qasida features a special rhyme scheme. The first rhyme is the D, like is the Dal. For instance, in the first verse, it's a Anta Rabbi wa kuntali bi widadi laka shukri li jannati bi midadi. That was the first rhyme with the D. And then the second rhyme is the Li. And for the Li, the first verse that start with the Li is Inna zal jodi wal ula wal jamali malikil mulki zal uda wal kamali. So that's the one that ends with the Li. And then the first verse that start the verse that end with the B is Azhabal Durra Maliki an Janabi wa Janabi al-Iyali zal al-Anabi. So these are the three main verse ending of this 27 verse Hasidah. So in the preamble, the overall it's worth scrutinizing as it contains important information that gives a foretaste of the Hasidah. In it, the author mentions, "Grant me the blessings of your names before adding glory to you, the great, and also to the Master Allah Muhammad. May God bless him." So the Sheikh also says further, as well as others among all these blessed and exalted names and all those of the Prophet, may God, the Most High, bless him and grant him salvation. So the Sheikh thus begins by glorifying Allah and praying over the Prophet. So the overall thrust of the poem is the glorification of the Lord, ardent prayers to attract his graces, and a constant renewal of the state of the being an abd, being the slave of Allah. As for the poem's content, the Sheikh writes in the first verse, "You are my Lord, you are in me through my attachment. My gratitude is to you for paradise with a pen provided with ink." When he says ink about his writing, this verse evokes many of the themes previously mentioned. We know shukr, gratitude to Allah. Remember, la in shakartum la azidannakum. So the author adds, I'm grateful to you for all the lawful things you have just sent me until paradise. Here the poet expresses his gratitude for all those favors emanating from God, hence the bliss felt even in the words chosen as lawful, paradise, and so on. In verse 3, Shaykh al-Khadim declares, "O thou, the eternal, my being belongs to thee, O my Lord, always a sign from thee the dominant facets of the poem becomes more apparent. Moreover, in verse 4, he says, "Give me the gift of remaining in perpetuity, a joy for the friend." These two words convey the poet's comforted, exultant mood. At the root of this appeasement lies the prospect of remaining ad vitam aeternam, meaning forever, a joy for the one he calls, in this case, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. This state of bliss is confirmed in verse 5. "I desire from you, in his favor, the salvation of a friend who is eternal to me." Note this semantic field provided paradise, joy, salvation of a friend, etc., and which contains in verse 6, which continues in verse 6 and following, "Give me always the advantage of being satisfied and secure. Keep mine away from epidemics and locusts," meaning anything that is a natural disaster that may come to my people. In addition, service through the pen is summoned in verse 7, when the Sheikh writes, "Give me from thee always whatever thou wilt, out of consideration for my writings, especially raise me in greatness, raise me in status." This theme returns in verse 9, as does the author's palpable bliss. "Grant me the benefit of being pleased with mine, rejoice the best of man through my pen." The real reason for rejoicing is plain to see. So what delights the Sheikh is what delights the Prophet. Let's continue our examination of the poem with verse 10, which is a succession of beautiful names for God. Surely the generous, most high, the beautiful, the master of royalty, the just, the perfect. The juxtaposition of 7 names of Allah does not detract from the meter of the verse, the khafif meter. It plunges us into an atmosphere of intense glorification. It's worth noting that the theme most present in the poem is that of gratitude to Allah, associated with the immeasurable benefits emanating from Him. The author writes in verse 11, "Allah is worthy of gratitude. He himself is grateful out of consideration for the Prophet before hammering home. I long to thank thee, or I long to thank him. My praise is always for the Lord who sends me favors in connection with a trustworthy messenger." Verse 15. "My praise and gratitude belong to Allah, the Noble One." Verse 21. The poet, God's slave, feels he owes Allah a debt of gratitude for the many benefits and for the many benefits and then for the many I can say for the many gratitude that he has showered him with. The poem exudes gratitude from beginning to end. Another facet of the Hasidah shows that God can attract or can bring down all blessings, since He is the owner of Daf and Job. He can bring or he can repel. He's also a radical shield when it comes to repelling danger. Thus the Shaykh declares in verse 19, "My Lord has driven evil away from my people, from me. He has preserved my whole being from evil during my exile. May God demolish the edifice of evil, drive me away from it, and remove what concerned me out of consideration for the best of humankind." What's remarkable here are the prayers, which in view of the starting premise are all answered, as the Sheikh mentions in Mamadou POUYE. The poet continues, "I have received from my Lord, out of consideration for the best of human beings, the best assistance against enemies." Verse 24. In this passage, we see an affable, merciful God who showers his slaves with blessings, but who is radical and merciless when it comes to protecting them from anything harmful. Secondary themes are also present in the poem. For example, in verse 18, the author addresses a friendly greeting to Allah from my own people and myself. Grant me the benefit of being satisfied with my own. Let's not forget that His own are all those who put their trust in Him. The final theme is that of the exile. In verse 20, the author mentions, He preserved my whole being from evil during my exile. This exile was the high price He paid to be able to possess all the glorious titles obtained from His Lord, which today earn us the appellation His own, that we belong to Him, we pledge allegiance to Him. So through gratitude and glorification of Allah, He has written this poem, Anta Rabbi. So this was the English part, so we're moving now to the next one, which is the Arabic part that would be done pretty soon for the next one. Thank you.